Welcome back to another re-review by Mega Train Lover. Today we are looking at a Bachmann locomotive, and it is the Bachmann Jubilee Class number 45659 called Drake, and it's in, as you can see, it's in BR late crest, and it's BR green, Brunswick green livery. A bit of information on the class. These were built in the 1930s, I think from 1934, and they were called Jubilees because they came along when King George V had his Jubilee year, and they were all named after British colonies and things like that. So they were quite appropriate. So they were quite appropriately named. And 3 members of the class survive. I'm not too sure about one of them, but I know one of them is called Bahamas, which was operational, but it's currently at the NRM in York. Then there's another one called Collifor, which is operational. I'm not too sure what's up with Collifor, but I know that I think she's owned by I think she's at Tyseley or the Great Central Rail. I'm not too sure, but I know that there is one called Collifor. If you know anything about Collifor, then please leave your comments below. And I had to get this locomotive because, firstly, for 3 reasons. Number 1, it's a very nice looking locomotive. Number 2, DCC fitted. But number 3, the most important reason, it was such a good price. It was £56 from Hatson's when I got it. I mean, if you think about it, amazing detail, DCC on board, £56, absolutely worth it. And you shall see how amazing her detail is right now. Now just look at that. I mean, she is absolutely beautiful. Her tender's just here, if you're wondering. Now before I go into detail, I'll show you how they're coupled together. So on the tender, there's a gate, there's a hole, and this pin, this bar, goes into it just like that. And if you turn it upside down, you must make sure that the hole on the bar must go into that pin, as you can see, and that way they cannot separate. But for now, let's just separate the locomotive and the tender, because that way it'll be easier to review them individually. Well, it's easier to hold them, basically. But wow, just look at that. I mean, sprung buffers, as you would expect. In fact, as you would expect, it's a Bachmann model, so you know you expect that it's very detailed. Lamp irons, brake pipe. I think I've added that, or I don't know. I can't remember whether I added that or whether that was added by me. I'm not too sure. I got it a while back. I got it back in June 2012 for my birthday. But just look at those wheels. I mean, wow. Just, camera can focus. Look at the shine on the coupling and connecting rods, and the valve gears, just beautiful. And look, even cylinder drain cocks. Wow, absolutely amazing. It's a small builder's plate there. The camera can focus. Look, I'm not. I'll just bring it closer to myself. It says built in 1934 in Derby. So wow, it was built in Derby. And as you can see, there's her name, Drake, number 45659. Very nice handrails running along both sides of the boiler. Very nice top feed next to the dome. safety valves, a whistle, and wow, look at that. The roof vent actually opens and closes. How amazing is that? These two I've added on myself. The sort of like guards to stop the crew from falling off. And if you just look at the cab, wow, look at that. I mean, it's amazing. You get the firebox door, the reverse on the left hand side, the regulator, the sort of like, not too sure. Well, you can see dials and many levers in there. Yeah, but it's really nice. There's a class power rating 6p. So she is quite powerful, and she's built for passenger work. There's rivets in most parts of the locomotive, washout plugs, and the other side is, well, it's just as nice. In fact, there's one feature which I had not pointed out yet, but this is really amazing. Look at that. The smoke box actually opens. Wow. I mean, how realistic is that? I mean, if you was to model, if you was to make your layout as realistic as possible, you could, you know, leave that open to create sort of like a yard scene or a train shed scene. You know, you could possibly also put a guy just shoveling out all the ash that's collected in the smoke box. But wow, that's just absolutely amazing. The detail on this model is just fantastic. Only £56 from Athens. Wow. But it doesn't stop there. It goes on to the tender. Wow. I mean, look at it. Rivets. There's rivets in practically every part of the tender. Oh, there's also brake rods, which I've added myself on both the tender and the engine, as you can see. Oh, sorry, that's come a bit out of place there. There we go. And there's the water scoop, which I think is a really nice addition, because obviously the water scoop was needed for longer distance expresses, because if it was an express, then there'd be water troughs. There'd be water troughs on the line, which are sort of like really long. So how do I put it this way? But it's sort of like a really long sort of gap between the running rails, and there'd be water inside it, which is constantly filled from a nearby pumping station. And as the train, and they would normally be half a mile long, and they would only be found on level pieces of track. So as the train would speed past, when it came to water trough, there'd be a sign with a sort of like a zigzag line on it, which would tell the driver and the fireman, or the crew members, that a water trough is coming up. So the fireman would then turn one of these levers, which would lower this device, and it would pick up water, and that would fill the large water tank in the tender, which in this case is a 4,000 gallon tender. And there's also steps leading up to the water filler cap. On this method also saved the need to stop at a water tower, which would slow the journey down. So yeah, that is really nice. So overall, this whole locomotive is fantastic. But now let's see how she performs. So here we have the Bachmann Jubilee Class Drake, number 45659, on the track, and I'll just show you around her. As you can see, she's absolutely amazing. Just look at those wheels. Wow. Now let's give her some juice and off she goes. Wow, just look at that. She's running absolutely brilliantly. She's at halfway. Yeah, she's running really nicely. It's a bit fast, but well, there's no stalling and there's no noise. Well, as in, you know, no loud noise from the motor. But wow, just look at it. It's handling pieces of track very nicely. Let's get a few line side shots. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really, really nice. Such a gorgeous engine. Wow. In conclusion, I highly recommend her. No matter what livery, she's just absolutely fantastic. I love her to bits, and it's a joy to have her on my land. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next review.